morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to another edition of Building from Ground Up. We're going to be trying to have an exciting day today. Have great conversations. Have someone who a few events of the last couple of days to weeks pretty much I would say are revalidating some of the work he has been doing for the last couple of years or more. But we're going to be talking to him and finding out how he's been able to do it, not just once, not twice. At least the ones we know is 3 times. So we're going to be talking to him shortly and finding out all the stories around it. But let's start with letting you know that this is powered by the UK Nigeria Tech Hub, an initiative by the UK government's Department of Digital Culture, Media and Sports to support the growth of the technology ecosystem in Nigeria. It's an initiative of UK, and it aims to close the knowledge gap between upcoming entrepreneurs, innovators, and the established entrepreneurs who have started companies and have thrived while doing it. So our guest today was born in Nigeria on March 28th, 1991. He's a co-founder of Flutterwave, a payments infrastructure company connecting Africa to the global economy with digital payments infrastructure that helps banks and businesses build more seamless and secure payments. He's gone on, he moved on from there, where we also heard about some of his other work. But at 18, he worked as an intern with the World Youth Alliance in the United Nations headquarters. So he has been doing quite a bit for a long time. In 2014, he met with Jeremy Johnson, an old friend, and they spoke about founding Andela, a talent accelerator that recruits and trains software developers and connects them with employers. I don't think all of that needs to be told because we all know about the stories, but I'm talking about the, you just have to introduce him, but still, we're talking about the person of Iyinoluwa Samuel Aboyeji, popularly known as E. Iyi, are you there?
I'm right here. Are you able to see my video?
Yes, I can.
Okay, fantastic. I was wondering about that. Is the view good? Because I can't see myself. Okay. I'm just trying to make sure I got everything right.
Solid. Very busy day for you. I mean, there's so many meetings.
Yes.
We spoke earlier this morning, and it looks like you're jumping from meeting to meeting.
It is a busy day. Well, at the end of the day, I have an amazing team, so they make half the work easy for me. But then, the other side of it is really just the work I do. I absolutely love, and it inspired me. So, the energy comes mostly from there.
All right, so let me start with this. I don't know if you follow hip hop culture, but Biggie's what do you call it? Autobiography or video biography came out recently, and I remember him. There was this part where he was saying it was all a dream. It was all a dream. That it was just a dream. And I'm thinking about you from the context of this same conversation. Rewind 10 years ago. And somebody was going to tell you were going to co-found 2 companies that were going to be very instrumental in the development of the Nigerian ecosystem. Would you have? Was it a dream that you had, or it was just you were going with and taking the opportunities as they came?
I'll be honest with you. I'll say one part of it was a dream. And one part of it was just providence, and divine guidance. I'm not that clairvoyant. When I did Andela, I locked out. I'll be very honest. I met Jeremy Johnson, and this one man pretty much changed my life. And so from there, I now had to start thinking strategically about how I was going to get involved in the continent, because, what typically happens to young people is that you do one really good startup and you really have kind of two choices, right? One choice is, you ride that thing till it dies off, in which case I would still be at Andela. The other choice is you basically kind of roll on the credibility. You understand what I'm trying to say, from doing that one thing and then turn it into like consulting or speaking, or I become a celebrity.
Exactly.
Very rare that people are able to actually go on and build something impactful again. So I'm very lucky in that respect. But after I got the win from Flutterwave, I then had to start thinking strategically. Okay, this win from Flutterwave, what really made it work? That was luck. That was divine provision. But the next time, God would expect me to learn something from the previous one. So what am I learning? And what I really realized was, with or without knowing it, we had built an impressive talent ecosystem with Andela. And the question was, what were we going to take that talent ecosystem to do? And for me, the answer to that question was, okay, now that we've built an amazing talent ecosystem, can we build an amazing payments ecosystem so that talent can see economic value for the things that they built? And then now what I'm doing, which is, when we've built this amazing payments ecosystem, can we build an amazing capital ecosystem so that it's possible to invest in that talent and make money from it? And so that's kind of the pattern my life has taken. A lot of it was all a dream, but I'll say with Flutterwave, and I think that's one of the most impressive things about the way Flutterwave has gone, nothing has really changed from day one. Like, I have the 2-page business plan I wrote when we were doing Flutterwave, and it's literally just, they've done this. Nothing has really changed. So a big part of it was just knowing what was going to happen, and it was fairly obvious to anybody who was thinking. And most importantly, having the courage to pursue that vision. And then, quite a lot of luck, because we had many near misses and all sorts, but here we are. Yeah.
So at that time, I mean, it's a bit more easy now to think about the fact that you can grow a technology business in Nigeria. I mean, people have seen Flutterwave, people have seen all kinds of businesses grow, but at the time you guys started, it wasn't like that. I mean, it must have sounded crazy when you were sharing the idea. We want to build a payment infrastructure for Africa. Did anybody give you any crazy eye, like, what? Are you serious?
Yeah, I mean, at the time there was InterSwitch. So the first look we got was, are you crazy? Who's going to go up against a $1 billion company? You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, so that made us worried. But I think we saw something nobody else could see, which was the merchant. Everybody, because of African mentality and also because of the way things tend to evolve in this part of the world, everyone was very focused on payments and making sure they were the only payment rail that the merchant and the customer would use, which in an ideal world would make sense. But what we saw was that merchants were struggling because they had to integrate over 200 payment methods, and customers were struggling because they maybe had one and were still being asked to go and get cash because the merchants couldn't accept 210 payment methods without some help.
Exactly.
And the customers had to then go to the ATM and take it. And I remember a very interesting graph and now that graph is basically gone, where ATMs were the largest payment channel in Nigeria.
Wow.
When we're starting out. So we saw, and now it's bank accounts, all in the space of 5 years.
Wow. Amazing
stuff. So, and I think
the
biggest winners of all of this have been the banks, because, when we started, the year we started was the year that the government decided they were going to eliminate government agencies holding deposits in banks. So that cleared 40% of banking deposits. That was the year we started. And then all of a sudden, to kind of see the banking industry thrive, not collapse, after that. It's
Wow.
basically as a result of fintech saved banks. And I think that's a part of the story that doesn't actually get out there enough. You know, and we don't, perhaps, you know, the banks aren't willing to share credit for that, but it is what it is. Because literally, you know, cash was draining the banking ecosystem, and we helped make sure the money stayed electronic and in the banks.
I don't think the banks will agree. They would rather die on that mountain. So let's go back to the beginning. A young man with a dream, a 2-page business plan, as you spoke about, a bit of success under your belt, but not much of, you know, the name is, it's not like you have Aliko's name that you can just open any door. So you're coming into this entire ecosystem and you're looking for money, you're looking to hire staff, you're looking for people to believe and jump on this bandwagon with you. How did it start? Because I'm thinking, which was the most difficult, really? Was it finding money or finding the team that was going to go on this journey with you? What was your headache for the beginning part?
Look, first of all, you know, the beautiful thing about Flutterwave and even Andela is it's not my idea, right? I was just, I like to say I'm a risk merchant, right? So, you know, GD reaches out to me with this idea he had for what could be an amazing payment ecosystem, and how to think about it, which aligned very much with my own hunches. And I told him somebody has to build this. And maybe at the time he wasn't willing to take that risk. And I went and I basically, you know, jumped in with his guidance and started to make things happen. I think neither of those two things were the biggest challenge, right? The biggest challenge was getting a bank partner who believed enough in this idea to take a risk on it. And that was an area where our partnership with Access Bank was extremely, extremely helpful for us. None of this would have happened if Access Bank didn't take that risk. And we'll always be grateful to them. And that was the hardest part. I think once we had that part done, then you know, the support of the regulator was the next big challenge. And we were able to overcome that challenge. And then once we were able to get that done, you know what I mean? Then funding became a challenge, but that was an easy challenge to overcome. And then after funding, you know, then we now had to contend with some of the other things you're bringing up, you know, talent and all of that. But realistically, you know, GB is a very magnetic personality, right? So, and he, you know, he's a visionary, and so naturally will attract an amazing team. And you know, but getting the banks excited about the opportunity was the biggest challenge, and then getting the regulator excited about the potential to transform the ecosystem from in line with its own financial inclusion priorities and objectives was the second biggest challenge. And I'm glad they gave us that shot, and the results is very apparent today. We basically killed ATMs, which is one of the policy objectives of the CBN.
But see, you know, this, you speak about the CBN now in a good light. Most fintechs come into this space with a bit of fear of the regulator, having seen how some regulators have been able to, you know, kill some fintechs in the past, or at least hurt them slightly. You know, what was the approach that made this conversation with the CBN improve? Because I'm sure they must have had some resistance at the beginning. But what were the things?
Naturally.
Yeah.
So I think first of all, it's really understanding the language of the regulator. And I'll be very honest, I didn't always understand the language of the regulator, because I've never been a regulator myself. I've never even worked in a regulated industry up until that point. I didn't even understand financial institutions and banking when I was CEO of Flutterwave. I learned, you know, the regulator and all these amazing mentors in the financial industry, who I call the angels and rebels that made this unlikely dream happen, were the ones who taught me basically how to do this. And I think you know, one of the best decisions we made was making Mr. Tunde Lemon, who was the former deputy governor of the central bank, our chairman. because he taught us the language of the regulator. The regulator doesn't care about you making money. It's not their role to help you make money. The regulator, all the regulator cares about is the safety and stability of the financial system. And quite frankly, that's all they should care about. And so whenever you bring up ideas, you got to think about that first. I think a lot of startups have challenges with the regulator because they think the regulator's job is to help them make money. And then they're often shocked when the regulator doesn't actually care how much money you're making and how many, people imagine that their job is to create jobs. The regulator's job is not to create jobs. The regulator's job is to ensure the financial stability of the ecosystem. Now, if it can do other things alongside doing that, then it makes it easy. So when you come into the space as a disruptor, your first thought is, will this disrupt the financial, the stability of the financial system? And if it will, then they fight you. And if it doesn't, then they support you, right? And the regulator, especially the CBN, is one of the best regulators in Nigeria because they actually have a very long-term view to the payments ecosystem and to the participants, unlike most other regulators who might not have that privilege. And because they have that very long-term view, it's actually easy to talk to them because you already know what is a priority for them. And you just align what you're building with what their priorities are in order to get ahead with them. And so that was what we were able to do with the regulator, was say, hey, you want to have a cashless payment ecosystem. We've identified this challenge that is making it tough for you to deliver that cashless payment ecosystem. And here's how we plan to solve it. Can you give us a license so we can get to doing that? And we'll tell you how it's going every year. And we've managed to deliver on our side of the bargain, and they've over-delivered on their side of the bargain and given us the right support. And that's not to say we're not going to have clashes, right? Because we might not always see the same thing the same way at the beginning. But then we work things out. We have a conversation with them. We understand what their real concerns are and how to mitigate them. And I feel like that's where my colleagues have a lot of learning to do, and a lot of learning to do from people like Benga, who's successfully been able to navigate that, is how do you engage with regulated entities so you can align with them and build an amazing business.
Awesome. So before I ask this question, please, guys, if you have questions for Ian, please go to the Q&A section so that you can type in your questions now. We'll be taking the questions in 10 minutes. We'll be trying to wrap this up in another 40 minutes. We'll be wrapping up by 12 just to be able to have some other engagements so that we try and manage time. Ian, you've gone from building to now funding.
Yes.
Which harder?
That's an interesting question. I think it depends on how you decide to do it. So my strategy is very much still entrepreneur mode. People in my industry, when it comes to funding, typically just go to one big institutional and take money. But as me and we're trying to make this, build this in such a way that the next time we have a unicorn, a lot more Nigerians than even did the last time. I think we had over $35 million going into Nigerians' pockets as a result of this Flutterwave transaction. I want to make sure $100 million is going into Nigerians' pockets as a result of the next $1 billion transaction. So it's a little bit of a harder path, but it's important that we have ownership and we can create prosperity, because then that cycles back to our newer startups. And so I'd say, based on that, it's a bit like building a company. You know what I mean? Because you're building from the ground up. But building is always harder than just making financial decisions about who lives and who dies, right? Exactly. But what makes us different is we're right alongside the entrepreneur when it comes to building. Sure, I could walk into a big institutional and do their song and dance and pick up $100 million commitment for a fund. But it's important to me that Tunji and Hawa and Chike and Ifoma get an opportunity to also be part of the next generation of unicorns being built out of Nigeria.
Awesome stuff. So now that you're trying to see that some of the I do know that you've I don't want to use the word support. You've been able to democratize funding for quite a few startups. What has been that conversation like? What has been that conversation like?
I mean, a lot of it is really understanding how to build for people, right? How do you build for the investor? Because I don't think a lot of people have actually cared about how investors think about the kind of risk they're taking. And I think we've been on that journey, understanding, okay, what do investors really care about when they want to invest in the innovation economy, when they want to risk capital. And, we've started to build a clear understanding. So on the one hand, they want a clear understanding of risk. They don't want to be overpromised. It's not that they don't want to risk capital, it's that they just they want to be very clear. Okay, look, how much of my money may I be able to lose? And the answer to that is everything. They're like, okay, fine. I understand now what I'm getting into. And I know what kind of money I should be putting in this fund. It's not my daughter's school fees, right? It's going to be, the money I would have used for that vacation to the Maldives, and maybe I can do that instead. I can do a hotel stay trip in Lagos and then put the rest of that money in the fund on the off chance that I actually, can afford many more vacations to the Maldives if this works out. So that's the first thing, right? The second thing is, what kind of information can I access about the company? Like how much decision making are you taking on my behalf versus am I able to take? And our approach to that is very simple. It's to say, look, you make all the decisions because you're the one who understands what kind of businesses you're excited about and you want to do it. However, our job is to give you the viable ones, not just anyone, right? Because you don't have the time to go talking to 600 companies a week like we do. So you can pick the top 100 to invest in. We can do that for you and give you the best 25, and then you pick the best 5 out of that to invest in. So that's another thing. It's like, I want the best information about the company. I want it to be done in a way where I can make a financial decision. And that's like, I write an investment memo, and so on and so forth. Now, that costs money. So we tell investors, look, if you want that service, you got to commit to us for a year. So pay us $1,000 so that we can give you the best information. And they love that because they actually do get the best information. They get an information memo, they get a data room, and they get the ability to talk to the founders during our Sunday talks, right? So that works perfectly. The third thing they're asking for is, how can you make this simple for me to transact on, right? I don't want to deal with, lots of paperwork and all this type of stuff. And I don't want my name all over the place, Sometimes I want to be straight. So how can you put this capital structure together in a way that makes sense? And the truth is, we're working on that, right? I would say we don't have a perfect solution yet, but we're working on that. We've made it work for investors who live in the US, because actually another thing is, these investors are all over the world. So investors who live in the US, we've solved the problem for. We're solving the problem for investors in Nigeria and the rest of the world right now, with our partnership with Valvan. So a lot of stuff is going on. And we'll continue to understand, how do investors want to invest in the future of innovation. The other thing is also, they don't just want to put in their money, they want to help, which is great news for us, because some of these people who are investing, they are decision makers, they are the regulators, they're all this stuff. And they don't just want to put in their money, they want to put in their time, they want to help guide startups to the right place. And the beautiful thing is we can do that with them. So that's an example of what's possible.
Awesome stuff. So I think the businesses that, you said you were able, you watch, one of the things that you do is to be able to see through the number of pitch decks that come through to you. Of the ones that you see, does anyone excite you the way Flutterwave excited you?
Oh yeah,
Andela.
No, all the time. I mean, there's incredible deal flow in this ecosystem in all areas. I meet Flutterwaves and Andelas every week. You know what I mean? And quite frankly, that's the bar for my investments. If I think you can be the next Flutterwave or Andela, and I don't think we'll be right on 100% of them. But I think we can make some of these dreams come true, and continue to add value to the ecosystem. And to the country at large. So I get a lot of these every single time. And we've done 45 of those investments. So these are the 45 companies that have every bit as much potential as Flutterwave and Andela do. So super excited to be able to support them and to be able to help them on their journey to growth.
So before we start taking questions from the audience, please do put your questions into the Q&A place. We'll try to take questions for about 25 minutes, then we'll sign off. So please put your questions now. I do beg you to do that quickly so that we'll be able to take all of them. I see your questions already coming in. Hey, before we leave this, I wanted to ask, as in this journey, this entire journey, this very roller coaster-ish ride type of journey, has there ever been any time that you woke up and asked yourself, who sent me message?
I asked myself that question this morning too. So, so best believe that question I ask myself at least twice a week. Look, I mean, there's no question that we're definitely taking the harder path. And I think it's worth it because not just because of the financial return, but because of the impact that we're going to be able to make. And, when I ask myself that question, the correct answer to that question is God. Now, God sent me a message. So that's typically how I think about it.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So let's start taking questions from the audience. So we have this one from, please do put your name. I'm not sure I really like this anonymous attendee thing. So this person is asking, how easy was it for you to gain access to the CBN? I mean, it sounds like it was so easy. Someone like me that knows nobody, how easy will it be for me to share my ideas with top organizations as big as the CBN? So was it easy?
That's a great question. I think look, the truth of the matter is, there's a big challenge with access, and I'm not going to downplay my privilege in getting access. Part of it was because I helped build Andela. So people were happy to take meetings with the guy who brought Mark Zuckerberg to Nigeria, however true or untrue that is. But beyond that, I think there's a certain wisdom to it. Even when I had that, I had to think about a bunch of things, right? So first of all, obviously, having the product was important, right? So having something to show them was super important. So I had to go build the product. Second of all, having the right kind of support and showing that we knew what we were doing was important. But one other thing I think about a lot is, how do I make it easier for the next Flutterwave to be able to access, the same resources that I was able to when they're thinking about going in, and that's something that occupies me every day. And my answer to that question, Tunji, is we started building something called the FSI. So if you go on www.fsi.ng, that's the Financial Services Innovators Association, which is an association of fintechs, over 5,000 fintech innovators who are building things using a simulated sandbox. And this is an important, interesting way, you understand what I'm saying, to start to build out that expertise. At least you can build a solution on the sandbox, get access, leverage that access to then get a meeting with the CBN through the services that FSI, which is funded by Omidia and EFINA, and also has the CBN NIBS, or used to have the CBN on the board, but now just has NIBS on the board. These guys have access to the CBN, and they can provide you access if you're building something that's amazing. So my advice to innovators is go sign up to fsi.ng, engage, and you can then work. Another thing I did was also, finding investors. If you're building something amazing, find investors who have that kind of access. I started investing in the cryptocurrency space, and when we had that issue with the CBN, we went to the CBN and had an engagement with the CBN, and we had a conversation, and now we know what next steps should look like on both sides in terms of how we engage on cryptocurrency, giving their own concerns about financial system stability, given the technology is still pretty early and unproven. and also giving our own concerns about stifling innovation before we have a chance to find out what could really result from this. And we now have a framework for dealing with that issue. So again, it's about identifying the right investors, identifying the right organizations and partners to put you in front of the right people. I'm not guaranteeing you it will work. It obviously depends on the quality of your idea. Everybody thinks the idea is gold and rainbows, but sometimes it might not be, and you have to have the ability to take that feedback and say, look, let me go back and come back with something that's perhaps better aligned with what everybody cares about.
Yeah, solid. So Bayo Adewoye says he loves your drive, but he's asking, I would like to know at what stage in my tech startup can I seek external funding?
That's a great question. My sense is, you know, in terms of external funding, my own rule of thumb has always been find the customer before you find an investor. It just makes your life easier. And so, you know, I think the moment you have a bunch of customers that can provide you proof points that your business is actually something that people want, and the only challenge is scale, then that's the right time to go and look for an investor. But I think you really do have to find the customer. It's never a good idea to go to an investor with an idea for all the reasons that you can imagine. They can steal your idea, they can, you know, give it to somebody else, so on and so forth. But also most importantly, because we don't invest in ideas. I think that's a big misconception about capital. Capital never invests in ideas. They invest in businesses. So to be a business, you need to have you know, some customers, and that's really when the conversation really starts.
Yeah, so good one. This person is asking, how much equity does Future Africa, this is Newton Imonjire, how much equity does Future Africa take if you select the company to fund it?
So it really depends on where you are, and typically our founders set terms of the deal. But we have an internal pledge that we do not take more than 10% equity in a business under any circumstances. We'd rather just not invest.
So Afiz here says, thanks for the great insights. I co-founded a fintech company in Ghana. It's in its early stage, and it's been amazing how we've been able to gain some traction in 12 months. Now we think it's time to approach investors. My question is, what could possibly be the best approach to approaching investors and attracting investment? So now that you know you have traction, what do you tell them when you go and meet them?
So I think it's important to kind of understand what excites an investor and what kind of investor will be excited about the opportunity that you're uncovering. And I think cold emailing is a good idea. There are platforms like MicroTraction and even us that provides access to funding. So it's helpful for you to think about that. You understand what I'm trying to say? You know, you fill in an application and we take a look at the business if we like it and things like that. So I mean, these are things that are you know, interesting, possible, so on and so forth with this type of tough stuff.
So this person is asking that you, Kazim Omoloja. He says you mentioned the partnership with Access Bank. How did the Access Bank come in? What did they do for you?
Yeah,
I don't
so
know if
Access Bank.
Secret.
Yeah, no, it's not a secret. I'm happy to cover all. I mean, what Access Bank did for us that was incredible was, you know, when we came into the business, there was a license that was being mulled at the time called the Payments System License, but it cost 100 million naira in capital requirements. We didn't have that kind of money. And even if we had that kind of money, it made more sense at the time to put that money into building the platform, right? And then also for us to get very big clients like Uber, they didn't want to deal with like an unknown startup from out of nowhere. And then furthermore, Access Bank's clients themselves wanted access to electronic payments. Their small business clients wanted electronic payments that were less painful than what they were experiencing with the platform that was available at the time, which was called WebPay by InterSwitch. And so we had this incredible deal where we shared revenue with Access Bank in exchange for them giving us those three things. So they gave us access to market through their own small businesses. They gave us the partnership helped us to be able to hide behind their own license. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then finally, they were also able to help us with finally they were also able to help us with like attracting a few, like we leveraged them to be able to close a few big clients like Uber.
So Shina Ayotola is asking, can you share some errors startups should avoid?
Yeah, I mean, the most obvious one is one we've talked about ad nauseum here, which is you spend a lot of time chasing investors and not enough time talking to your customers. That's the biggest mistake I find investors make. The reality is investors invest in businesses, and while you do need capital, the best place to get that capital is from your customers. And then when you need to scale to get more customers, then an investor can get involved. And that's the biggest problem. I'll say the second big problem is, building without the customer in mind. So it's very easy to like start building something and not really have a customer for that if you don't have a customer in that customer development process with you. You understand what I'm trying to say? So my own approach typically when I'm building a company is to build for one customer and then look for other customers like the first customer I built for, and then scale that way, as opposed to the pattern these days where you're just building on your own with ideas about what the customer needs and how they want to leverage what you built. So that's another very big one. And I think the third one is not identifying the best co-founder, the best team to work with. So much of a startup's value is really about the team you're able to build. And I find a lot of people make this mistake of looking for people who are easy to control, who are not intellectual peers and things like that. You know what I mean? And this creates a lot of challenges for startups because they can't scale. So I think it's always important for you to work with people who are, with you. I don't know if you get my point.
Yeah, I do. I wanted to ask this question, and this is very important because I know that you do support this. Tope Shonekon is asking, how many women-led entrepreneurs do you work with?
Yeah, so we don't work with enough of them. I'll be very honest. We're scrambling to improve there. We have a program or a commitment we've made to our investors this year that we're going to put in $1 million behind female entrepreneurs this year. That's about as much money as we disbursed to all the entrepreneurs that we funded last year. Right, so it's a big commitment. We're scrambling to fulfill it. So I wouldn't say that we're a model there. Don't look at us as a model there. We don't work with enough women, and we're trying to improve that.
All right. So please, could you tell the Future Africa's website, because almost all the questions here are about, do you give first check? How do you give the check? Do you invest in cars?
Sure.
Those kind of plenty questions. So
just go on future.africa/collective. The website should change pretty soon. We're just dealing with some website issues, but future.africa/collective, and you're able to apply whatever your startup is. Just apply anyway, and we can always figure out the rest of it as we go along.
Angela is asking the CBN sandbox. If you could say the link again.
Future.africa.
No.
The CBN sandbox.
Sandbox, yeah.
No, it's fsi.ng. So fsi.ng, yeah.
Yeah. There's so many questions on funding. Farouk is saying, I also want to congratulate you on your recent achievements, Unicorn and partnership with PayPal. Congratulations. Somebody had asked earlier that that PayPal collaboration, what exactly is it? Doesn't mean we can.
No, the folks at Flutterwave are probably in a better position, but from my own understanding of the way the ecosystem works, I think what had happened was they had partnered with PayPal to be able to enable merchants on Flutterwave accept PayPal payments. So PayPal has over 300 million wallets all over the world. So if you're a merchant approved for that payment method on Flutterwave, you're now able to accept payments from those 300 million wallets all over the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Farouk is asking, how much equity should we give an angel investor?
Look, there's no hard and fast rules about that. It really depends on your business, how much the angel investor is going to do for you. There's so many questions. But in general, I think it's helpful for you to think about, for at least your angel investment round, not giving up more than 20%. A great angel. For us, for example, our standard deal, this is our worst possible deal. We rarely do it. But if someone is coming to us super, super early and we're going to do a lot of work, the way we think about it typically is we invest $50,000, $25,000 to $50,000 for at most 10% of the company. So that's generally kind of how we do it. But I'm sure other investors have other kind of thought processes around it.
Awesome stuff. So please do go to the website. I'm just seeing so many questions around the same funding. Everybody wants money. Hey, do you have all the money that this people need? Because there's
I don't think I do, but you know what? I'm trying to write 100 checks this year. So I have a lot of money, or I hope I have a lot of money to write the checks. And like I said, right, like a very common mistake, which it seems a lot of the entrepreneurs on this call will still make, is finding investors before finding customers. You get horrible terms. You don't have any leverage. If you go with this type of aggressiveness, looking for customers, or looking for investors who can give you customers, you probably go a lot further.
Awesome. So you were going. There was somebody that asked the person asked how much equity should they give to investors. Those people that could you explain what the what's the word? The hazard of giving too much equity at the beginning stage it could be for the founder?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right, the big hazard is that you get to a point when you've given so much equity, you yourself don't feel incentivized to work on the business. And that's when things start to get very alarming from the point of view of, the kind of decisions that you make consciously or unconsciously, the way you think about the future of the business, your willingness to take risk, and things like that. So that's why it's very important for you to keep as much equity as you can, so you feel incentivized to continue to work on the business.
I saw a question around agri-tech. I'm trying to look for, what do you consider as the most important quality for any startup?
Man, so I think the most important quality is really mission, right? So and this is the test of mission, is that are you also vested in the future that you're trying to build, that if somebody else actually did it, you would still be just as excited that it happened. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
but that's difficult.
I think that's the biggest thing. That's very difficult. That's why it's a high bar for mission. It's a difficult sell, but the best founders I've seen are people who are like, yo, even if somebody else did it, you know what I mean? I would be excited because this is the future that we should have, even if I failed.
Awesome.
And that's why they're willing to do whatever it takes to bring that future to life. Yeah.
Recently, we have been seeing fintech successes in Nigeria and Africa. Please, what advice can you give to us in agri-tech space in order to experience such an exponential success in terms of funding and international attraction. So everybody believes that it's payment that is getting money now. Why?
No, you know, say Uncle Tunji just like on top by top. You understand? So at the end of the day, it's like, you know, now it's payments, tomorrow it's gonna be something else. But my own advice is generally our second largest investment is actually in the agri-tech space. We invested in Akwa in a company called Relief, which makes machines for nut cracking. And my advice to agri-tech entrepreneurs is really, look, focus on building enablers for the existing value chains as opposed to trying to recreate your own, right? The palm oil value chain is extremely valuable, but these young men decided to just pick nut cracking. This was an activity that used to take 3 days, hard labor from women who own small oil palm farms that were handed over to them by their husbands and their fathers. And they basically said, how do we make these women's lives better by building out this value chain, making it easier for them to enjoy both the money that they've come up with, waste less, and be able to get their products to refineries who are at 50% capacity a bit more faster, and built out a value chain around that, which is making them tons of money. So think more along those lines and think less along the lines of somebody must invest in your farm or somebody must invest in your this, you know, it would really help you.
Awesome, awesome. Somebody asked if you would invest in a faith-based business. I find
well, it depends. It depends. So, I mean, to be very honest, we do see religion as an opportunity. And it really depends on what they're trying to do and what kind of traction they have, right? We don't have any rules against, and that's the benefit of the kind of capital that we have, is that our investors choose what they want to invest in. So they don't put us under any unnecessary restrictions about what to invest in and what not to invest in. On a platform level, there are things we don't necessarily touch out of the more public funds.
Oh, did we? Oh, I think we lost Iyinoluwa there. Interesting. I think network issues. Hopefully he can join us. So thank you very much, everyone that has joined us. While we wait for Iyinoluwa to come right back up, I'm guessing I had some technical issues, maybe internet or so. Yeah, we're still here, building from ground up, an initiative of the UK Nigeria Tech Hub. He has joined us back. He's just joining.
I have, but this time I might not be able to do video, so please forgive me.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine.
So that we don't have any restrictions on our funds, so we can actually look at anything. So feel free to send it along to us.
So I guess that answers every question of do you invest in this? Do you invest in that? So just send it across. He's given the website, so you can just check it out. How can we get more Nigerian investors to invest in Nigerian startups rather than having more investments from outside Nigeria? This is from James Benjamin, and I think that's what you're doing now, isn't it? Hello, E. I think it's network issues. Is he with us? All right, so as we're coming to the end of the session anyways. Please, could you kindly go into the chat room and do please give a review of what you've been able to experience of this. Just tell your thoughts about your general experience with building from ground up. This edition, previous editions, do just give your comments about what you would like to see, things you enjoy, things you want to improve, general things like that. Just let us know your thoughts around it. Yes, we'd like to know if you enjoyed the session. We'd like to know what your thoughts are about improving future editions, because at the end of the day, building for ground up is really about you. It's really about helping your entrepreneurial journey improve. So we're bringing people like Iyi to come and share their stories so that you can be able to learn and, you know, improve adequately from that. Is Iyi back with us? Once you're in, Iyi, just let me know so that we can also do that. So if you are just joining us, we've been on building from ground up.
Hear me?
Yes,
Sorry,
I can hear you
sorry
now.
about the finish line. I realized that I'd run out of data. That's very embarrassing. Yeah, sorry.
This is Nigeria.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's
So what was I saying? So I was just saying that, that's kind of the way these things tend to work. But we can get over those things easily by working together. Yeah.
So is there a bias for the kind of business? So let's say like a checklist in your mind. In your mind, like the three things that would be your checklist, like check, check, check.
Okay, so we have a bunch of industries that we look at very closely, right? So the first one is obviously talent and education. We care a lot about that. The second one is infrastructure, digital and physical infrastructure. We actually care a lot about that kind of stuff. So we invest in data centers, we invest in subsea cables, which people don't typically expect people like us to invest in, right? Like, but we also invest in things like payment platforms, APIs, and stuff like that, right? We invest in media. So we're a pretty large media investor. We own Zikoko, we own some of Tekabal, we own some of Steers. So we invest a lot in media. And then we invest a lot in the environment. We're starting to do a lot of stuff in the environment, agriculture, circular economy, plastics, stuff like that, right? We invest quite a bit in that. But overall, kind of the theme for our fund is really that we are trying to identify opportunities where when you look at Nigeria or Africa in general, is this a huge challenge, right? That can turn into an amazing opportunity. So you look at like Flutterwave, you had this challenge where merchants couldn't accept electronic payments because they had to either accept none of them or all of them. And then by turning that challenge into an opportunity, you're able to build out this pretty amazing fintech ecosystem. Same thing is in education. We have a big challenge with jobs and employment skills training. Okay, by teaching people these modern, globally relevant skills, we're able to turn that challenge into a global business opportunity. So that's how we typically think about the investments that we make.
So 2 last questions, please. We're going to do that in very quick succession. I know we're almost out of time. Is it advisable to replicate a foreign startup? This is from Jeremiah Adesoye. Is it advisable to replicate a foreign startup that has a successful and applicable and apply their MO in Nigeria?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. Because those startups have made certain assumptions about talent, infrastructure, and so on and so forth in coming up with their stuff, right? And when you carry over those assumptions, they may not be true here. So it's very important for you to think about everything from first principles and building up from the ground up. You may end up with something that looks similar, and you can borrow ideas about tactics from them, but trying to just replicate from a foreign startup here will be very difficult to scale.
Bode Chris is asking, says, how do I find a valuable co-founder?
Make friends and be helpful to people and try and be above board, have a great reputation, try not to cheat them. I mean, I think Benga came to me because we've never met before. He started working with me at Andela, but he came to me because people had told him I could be very helpful, right? And that's generally how you find great co-founders. I've approached people because I think they could be generally helpful,
Solid. Thank you very much, E. We appreciate your time. We know that you're jumping up and down right now, going to another meeting.
Yeah.
This is where our parents will pray all those prayers of it will come out well, or it will
Amen.
prosper. So, yeah, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you to every single person that joined us in this conversation. Please do go to the chat room and let us know your thoughts about today's conversation. We've been talking about the co-founder. He co-founded Andela, co-founded Flutterwave, and now he's co-founding democratizing startup funding in Africa, Future Africa. It's been a great pleasure having you, and getting to share some of your thoughts with some of the entrepreneurs here. Do not forget, E is on Twitter. You can also have conversations with him. He's always ready to engage whenever he has time. So please do reach out to him if you can. And also, if I saw a few people here who are asking about investing in businesses through Future Africa. Please, Inyi, could you just say the website again so that people could,
Yeah, so that would be future.africa/collective.
All right,
so future.africa/collective, yeah, or FSI. And then for the young people who want to get into fintech and meet the regulator, is fsi.ng.
All right, thank you very much. So everybody, this has been the Building from Ground Up. It's a UK Nigeria Tech Hub initiative by the UK government's Department of Digital. Well, sorry, I something happened to me there. Yes, UK is the government's Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sports to support the growth of the technology ecosystem in Nigeria. This has been a very great conversation with Inyi. We've just been talking about all the many things that he's been doing over the last couple of years, and I hope that this has been great for you. Please go to the chat room and let us know your thoughts, what we can improve. Did you enjoy this? Let us know. Please do let us know in the comment section. It has been a great session. We will be letting you know when the next one will be so that you can, follow up and register as always. Always do share this and let people around you know what's going on. And know exactly how they can be a part of this going forward. I want to also thank our technical partners who have been able to help us put everything together in terms of how the back end, all the many infrastructures that you probably will not be able to see from this angle of everything. Yes, we want to thank them for being with us on and making everything work. But yes, I'm very sure we'll try to have you in again when you build maybe when we celebrate your next unicorn or something like that. So don't let it be too far. We're hoping to have you very All right, thanks everybody. Have a great one. And do not forget to share the word. We'll be having this every month. We'll be bringing all sorts of successful founders to be able to share their experience about doing business in Nigeria and Africa and the entire startup journey, and especially building from ground up. Thank you very much. Have a great day.